and then we end up having the match on the pay-per-view, which I can tell this story. I wouldn't have never told this story.
And this is Uncensored 1996.
Uncensored 96, yes, which sir. Was probably the worst pay-per-view of all time.
Well, I was wondering if you were sad that you didn't get to get in that big giant cage.
You know, it's funny you should mention that. No, I wasn't in the slightest. It was
it's a monstrosity.
The whole show was a monstrosity. And if you watch, you know, there's again, it's all myth. That if you watch mine and Fitz match, if you watch it as a wrestler or as a fan now, you're watching some really serious stuff. But those people in Tupelo, Mississippi, couldn't have cared. Honestly, if somebody,
if y'all would have caught on fire, they would not have ran out of the ring.
They wouldn't have cared. No, no, they just wouldn't have cared because they're just watching two foreigners smashing the granny out of each other.
And they don't know who to cheer for.
No, because we're both villains, and they've got no idea. So
they just want to chant USA.
They want to chant USA because this is 1996, right? So there's no. But so I'm going to tell this story.
Sure.
We're at a different day and age. If this had been 10 years ago, I would never have. I've never let this story out. This has become known as the match that never was to me. Me and Fit have talked about this. And the actual match that we had, if you're a person who likes watching, which I don't like watching bad stuff, this pay-per-view is the one for you.
Yeah, but your match isn't bad, though.
No, our match isn't bad. No, the rest of it doesn't really hold. It's.
I mean, nobody told the audience it wasn't bad, but like it wasn't bad. It's a good match. It's if you want to watch good wrestling, you want to see this match for sure.
This match is something you should watch
for sure.
If you want to, and you know, I've got friends of mine from the MMA world, and they said they were all. There was a friend of mine, Paul Lazenby, said that he was in Japan at the time training. They watched this match and they were all training to do for pancreas and stuff like that, and they were like they thought they were all blown their minds. And he talks to me. He's asked me all kinds of questions about this match because we were doing what we do, which was different than anybody else. That was what it was. What the whole point of it being on didn't make much sense anyway. But we were just going to go out and do what we did.
Sure.
This is the bit that, again, I like to keep things, but I'm going to have to tell you this story. Whatever you saw in that match is not anything that it should have been. Not that it wasn't. No, I phrased that wrong. The orders that we had for that match was for a 30-minute draw. So, for whatever you see, imagine this. I'm going to break this down now.
Okay, right. You're going to do that for 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Of that.
30 minutes. And these poor people that are in the audience in Tupelo have got to watch two foreigners who they could. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't care about me. They did care about me if I was on with a good guy that they wanted. Right. Because they wanted to boo me, right? They didn't really know Fit at the time. He just got there,
and they weren't privy to the whole 400 years of tyranny.
400 years of
they have no idea what's going on.
Of problems, right?
Right.
And they get no idea, right? So they would have had to sit through 30 minutes of that, but it still would have been better than the rest of the especially once it got to that cage. Right at the end, right, which was, and you know, oh dear me. So there's well, this is that bit that I don't like talking about. Me and Fit had not a single thing, or I did. We were just going out to do the first 20 minutes with just us doing without no thought to it, and we were going to kick it into gear in the last 10 minutes. So whatever you see of that match is just us just going out and wrestling each other. We have no plans to do anything until after the 20-minute mark. And then we had a few little things that we were going to do that would have, like a Japanese, which would have cranked it into a completely different level. As is that if you see any 30-minute matches, it's. But we hadn't even we never spoke about anything except for one thing. And sorry, one thing for the first 20 minutes. And in fact, it wasn't even for the first 20 minutes. It was one thing that I'll get to in a minute. But we hadn't anything at all you see in that match is just us wrestling each other without any idea what we're doing, because we hadn't got any idea of what we were going to do until after the 20-minute mark. And then we were going to start kicking. We had a few things and we just knew how we would escalate it. So it would be a boom, 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 boom. So you don't matter whether you liked it or not, we would have had those people because of the things we would have done in the last 10 minutes, if that makes any sense. Right? We would have, we would have gone completely taken it to another level.
Sure.
We didn't get that far. We only we got 17 minutes. And this is the story. This is why. The night before, I was in the hotel and the producer of the match came up to me. I'm not going to give his name away, but it's the same producer that I've never given his name away about the Goldberg match.
The same producer of the Goldberg match that you won't say
until
he comes.
Still waiting. I'm still waiting for him to come out and just tell somebody so we can put that story to bed eventually, right? Or somebody can like at least back up my side of it, of what I was told to do in that match.
Sure.
So this same producer came up to me, and again, I'm not going to throw his name out there because it's up to him to own up to it or not. It's his business. And he's a friend of mine. I get why he didn't do it at the time because he was caring about, he needed a job and whatever. But again, the Goldberg match would look very differently if this person would have owned up to it. But it's the same person who has come up to us and said, or come up to me, he didn't go up to Fit, come up to me and said, listen, I know there's a no blood policy in WCW. And this is the exact term he said. The devil said, which means Kevin Sullivan, because that's what everybody called him.
Sure.
And I never did. I always called him Kevin. I don't have. I'm a bit funny about certain things. I don't like. I don't like it when people call their dad their old man. I would never let anybody call Mr. McMahon the old man. People call him that, but not around me. I don't know. I just the way I was brought up by my granddad. No, you never say that about somebody who you think anything about. Like if people said that around me, I would go, you mean Mr. McMahon or Vince? And whether they took that on board or not, or if somebody says to me, oh, my old man, talking about the dad, it's depending who it is, I go, if I know him, I go, do you care about your dad? Yeah, you're calling him your old man. That's just a terrible term. Everybody says that to me about my dad. I usually, it's one of the things that'll set me off a little bit. Like, do you mean my dad? Like, don't call him like, it's a like a degrading term to me. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject here.
Sure.
But it's like I never called Kevin the devil, but people did. So this producer came up to me and said, look, the devil said, we know there's no blood policy, but if you were to get a little bit, he wouldn't mind. So where I'm from, and the style of wrestling that I do, I know, and I'm certainly, I was never frightened of getting real blood, which means I would rather you hit me on the nose, in the eye, or in the ear, and bust me open than get it artificially. Let me leave that there, because I know everybody else had thought about. I was just the way I was taught, right? Not that I haven't done artificial ways of getting that, but me personally,
my preference
was to again, I was never wanted to do what normal wrestlers did.
Wrestling.
I wanted to, it's stupid now thinking about it. It's ridiculous.
But it's strange to me. I don't know if you're aware, but 2 years before, you probably are aware, but Blacktop Bully and Dustin Rhodes were fired from WCW for getting
I was on around at that time. I'm not sure if I was on that actual pay-per-view, but I think I might have been. But I was around when that happened.
For bleeding without permission.
Without permission.
Yeah.
So this is going to play into this.
Okay.
So I get this particular producer comes up to me the night before the match and said, "The devil says if there was to be a little bit of blood, we wouldn't mind." So I take that as when the time's right, I'm just going to put my face, and I know, and if I just say, "Hit me," Fit's going to smash my face open, or split my eye open, or crack me on the nose, or punch me in the mouth. We'll get something. I don't need. Me and him know each other so well in the ring. If I get him in a certain position and I do that, he's gonna know, because it's not like we haven't done it before in Europe and England when we felt, if we thought it needed it,
sure,
right? It's because we know each other so well, and we know that neither of us care one way or the other if we split each other open, right? It's just part of the job. Right. In our world, anyway. When I'm saying this stuff out loud now, it really sounds mental.
It's a different kind of job, It's not your everyday job.
It sounds like I need locking up, because that's just not right. You shouldn't be doing stuff like that. Anyway, so the only thing I've said to Fit, apart from a couple of things that we're going to do in the last 10 minutes to elevate this match to a crescendo, and to like a long laid out Japanese match, or a long laid out European match, is to wrestle, and then the last 10 minutes, boom,
and you're
boom, boom,
saving
boom, boom, boom,
all
boom.
this stuff. We're
saving the good stuff for the last 10 minutes. Well, there's a point which you can see, and our friend Mr. Shivani, and he still says, right, and I'm not, Mr. Tony Schiavone still says this is his favorite match of all time. I'm correct in that, right?
He is. I was going to mention him. I love Tony personally, and just I love when he's engaged, when he's watching a match, and like he says things like, "Look at that headlock!" Like and then he's trying to talk about why the crowd is not responding, because he's talking about how
they couldn't care less. Well, Dave Taylor's told me this story, and Bobby's told me, like, later on. Dave's just stood with the monitors there, and they're just because they know they've got another 13 minutes to go, or another 13 minutes before they got to come out. So Dave's got a cup of coffee and a cig, because he always used to smoke. So he's just stood there, just nonchalantly, with a cup of coffee and a cig, just having a smoke backstage and drinking a coffee. And Bobby's probably chewing on a boiled sweet or something, because that's what Bobby always had, candy and stuff. They're just passing the time of day. All of a sudden, Eric Bischoff, there's blood everywhere, right? So he's freaking out because there's a no blood ban. Kevin's obviously not told him. He's come screaming today, "Get out there! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!" So Dave and Bobby they've had to kick. They've just gone from relaxed Dave having a smoke and a coffee Bobby's chewing on a boiled sweet, or like a bit of chewing gum, or sucking a lollipop or something, because he was always had a bag of candy. They've gone, oh, so they've had to come running out.
Right.
Well, if you actually watch this, they come running out fit. Nobody, the referee can't. Well, if he has, he's not. We can't hear him, because me and him are just going now. Once the blood's coming, me and him are starting to we need to kick this up. We're kicking it up. All of a sudden, he doesn't know. Dave and Bobby are behind him, and he's got no idea, because he's thinking that there's another 13 minutes to go, or whatever we got left, right? He just feels them come behind, so he just turns around in instinct. If you watch this, you'll see him turn around and just go bang, bang, starts laying and throwing kicks and punches at Dave, and they just hightail it out of there like Penelope Pitstop. They just whoa, they're just running off like that, doing like sprinting out the way, because he's just
Sleep run.
He's got no idea what's. I'm just like that, Cream. I'm glad he's left me alone for a second. I'm like trying to feel the damage in my face, because my face is completely numb. I've got that much blood running into my mouth and into me. I'm choking on my own blood. But I'm still ready to keep going. I'm just like like that, and he just starts laying in, and I mean proper kicking at him and laying, and they're off. They've done the sprint. They've just gone off, and then they just went to the next show. They just went backstage to do something. So that match, whatever you see of that match, is nothing what it should have been, or it is what it should have been up until about the 15, whenever the first punch is, and then again there was another. The last 10 minutes we would have. And I do remember, and I'm not going to say, but I do remember we had a few things that we would have grabbed that audience by the throat by then, because they would have seen things. We knew.
And to be fair, they were livening up a little bit towards.
They were livening up because of the violence, because of the sheer physicality. That's another thing. Physicality. We talked about this. There's one thing, and there's a time. You can be shocked, you can't care, but if you know how to do the right kind of physicality, you will win over an audience. You need time sometimes. You need to build up.
I want to close out talking about the Uncensored match with, I know how much you love it.
And we don't forget, we don't forget the car park match.
Oh no, that's next. Yeah, for sure. But I was going to talk about how you must have really wanted to be part of that cage match, because you got thrown into the cage at some point.
Well, that was just the end, because once Fit had run Dave and Bobby off,
like for real,
for real. Yeah, I mean, like
he ran them off for real,
just like bang, bang, throwing kicks and throwing punches, and Dave's going, oh, and then Dave's not, but he was just like off.
But even in a league,
Fit's mad because the match has been ruined now.
Right.
We've got our ideas of what we're doing. Now the match has been ruined, and nobody's communicated to us. So he's mad, and he's just laid into them. They've run off. Well, I've gone out after him, and we've just done something and got up to the cage, and he's bounced me off the cage a bit, and then somebody was shouting to us, just get backstage, get backstage. It was just chaos. It was absolute chaos.
It's the most WCW story ever.
Right.
It's the best story ever. This match is the best thing.
So
I mean, it's not good that you got hurt. Like, all your stories are funny, and then you go, and then I went to the hospital, and then they stopped being funny.
To the hospital, and I was there all night. Yeah. Dave was with me all night, because I that shattered my eye socket, and had a broken nose, and I had 12 stitches in my eye.
And of course, when you're recovering,
and I was back doing promos the next week on the show.
I was going to say, I think the best way the doctors say to recover from a broken eye socket is to have a junkyard outdoor car match. I think Bobby Heenan said, "I've never seen a man get beat up by 4 trucks before." Which I thought was a great line.
I don't know what else we did in the next, because it was
it was a month later.
It was a month later, right? So they obviously gave me some time off for this, but it was never ill again, right?
Right.
So I've got this dodgy eye now, right? So, but again, are you okay? I'm going to say yes, because I'm used to. only a few years before, I'm used to having to work to feed my family. You couldn't take time off because that was just odd. And it was sort of part of the deal of being a wrestler.
Right.
If you wanted to be in the company that I kept, let's put it that way. If you were a pro, what was considered a good pro, you did your job.
Mm-hmm.
So
no matter what,
didn't matter what, you didn't complain and you did your job. So was I ready to be wrestling after a few weeks? No. But are you okay? Yes. I'm just going to say yes. Right.